Hello again, my fellow pilots and my fellow aircraft maintenance personnel. Your host is always Haytham Aly, and I'm an aviation technical instructor. Welcome to my aviation nuggets for today. Today, everybody, we are going to speak about Part 3, and don't forget to look at Part 1 and Part 2 from the Avionics smoke and the smoke fumes and the Avionics smoke procedure. The smoke fumes and Avionics smoke procedure. We already discussed Part 1 and Part 2, and this is Part 3 from this series. Okay, so what is the smoke fumes and Avionics smoke procedure? This is a smoke coming procedure used on Airbus aircraft on the smoke that may come from the avionics compartment, air conditioning bay, and the cabin equipment In Part 1 and Part 2, we discussed the difference between the 6 locations of the smoke. Okay, 3 locations are easy to be identified and located, and the 3 other locations are not easy to be identified. Cargo smoke, okay everybody, and also, as you can see here, lavatory and the crew rest compartment are easy to be identified, and this location has their own smoke procedure. But now avionics, air conditioning, and the cabin equipment are all in single one procedure to don't confuse the pilots. So in Part 2 also we discuss about the 2 words that you need to remember to do the procedure for avionics fumes procedure. What are they? They are ventilation, which is an immediate action, then electrical shedding, electrical emergency configuration. Everybody, we take the aircraft into an electrical shedding situation, okay? This is at any time procedure, and if the situation become worse, okay everybody, we take the aircraft into an electric emergency configuration. Okay, also we said that in a smoke procedure, any smoke, any fumes, okay, any fire, land as soon as possible. And accept exceptional landing, everybody. Accept exceptional landing. You may land on water, ditching the aircraft. You may accept landing with a tailwind. And you may accept an off-airport landing. And you need to keep in mind that in the smoke procedure, everybody, you are not sure that we kill the smoke source, but we are more satisfied by having the smoke outside of the airliner. So it is important to keep in mind that the smoke removal procedure does not stop the smoke source, but rather aim at removing the smoke from the cockpit. Let's start Part 3, everybody. We'll start by the electrical emergency configuration. What is electrical emergency configuration? Why in the smoke procedure, avionics smoke and the fumes procedure, you may take the aircraft into an electrical emergency configuration? This aims to shed as much electrical equipment as we can until we land as soon as possible, until we do an immediate landing. Okay? So we can only have the emergency electrical equipment that will take us on ground. As you can see here, for example, on the A330, A340 family, it is important to note that in electrical emergency configuration, smoke removal cannot be performed. Therefore, if considered necessary, the smoke removal procedure must be applied before the electrical emergency configuration. Smoke removal procedure, ventilation, must be applied before electrical emergency configuration is set. Finally, if the situation becomes unmanageable, if the flight crew is not able to maintain the control of the aircraft until an airfield is reached, then an immediate landing is to be considered. The pilot must think about a diversion in a case of a smoke procedure. Diversion. Okay, everybody, as you can see here, the immediate landing term found in the paper Smoke Fumes Avionics Smoke Procedure means accept exceptional landing. Accept exceptional circumstance. Immediate landing, accept exceptional circumstance, like tailwind landing, ditching, and off-airport landing. This is the meaning behind accept immediate landing. As you can see here, yes, it's here. Immediate landing, consider. Immediate landing, consider. What's meant by immediate landing? Accept exceptional circumstance, like you can land with a tailwind. You can land on water. You can land off airport. You can land off airport. Okay, let's continue. So, as you can see here, the procedure for smoke or avionics smoke fumes, you have immediate actions, like here for ventilation. At any time, emergency electrical shedding if the situation become worse. If the situation become worse, also accept diversion decision and do a troubleshooting to see if you need to make a diversion or not. Diversion decision and the troubleshooting. Let's see what is meant by diversion decision and the troubleshooting in the avionics smoke fumes procedure. Diversion decision making, the crew should consider the following two questions which constitute the core of the smoke fumes avionics procedure. Two questions for you, my fellow pilots, during a situation of smoke fumes avionics procedure. What are they? Is the smoke source immediately obvious, accessible, and extinguishable or not? If this is the case, can it be isolated or not? As you can see here, if the answer to these two questions is yes, then this is the end of the procedure. On the other hand, if the answer to at least one of the two above questions is no, then the diversion must be initiated. In case of doubt, a diversion should be initiated. Again, if the answer to these two questions is yes, then this is the end of the procedure, and you may not think about diversion decision. And on the other hand, if the answer to at least one of the two above questions is no, then the diversion must be initiated. In case of doubt, a diversion should be initiated. Let's see these two questions, everybody. As you can see here, diversion decision making. You need to anticipate diversion in the avionics smoke fumes procedure. Okay, question 1 here. You need to ask yourself question 1. Is the smoke source immediately obvious, accessible, and extinguishable? If yes, you need to isolate. If no, initiate diversion. Initiate diversion. Question 1, is the smoke source immediately obvious, accessible, and extinguishable? If the answer is no, initiate diversion immediately. If the answer is yes, isolate and ask yourself second question, which is, was the smoke source isolated? If no, was the smoke source isolated? If no, initiate diversion. If yes, end of procedure. So if the answer of these two questions is yes, end of procedure. If any answer of these two questions is no, initiate diversion. Initiate diversion. As you can see here again, if the answer to these two questions is yes, then this is the end of the procedure. But on the other hand, if the answer to at least one of the two above questions is no, then the diversion must be initiated. And in case of doubt, a diversion should be initiated. In case of doubt about these two questions, initiate diversion. Initiate diversion. Okay, everybody? So here, as you can see, we may see this. Task sharing for cabin crew. Airbus has developed a precise task sharing for cabin crew, which can be found in the operator's cabin crew operating manual, or in the Getting to Grips with Cabin Safety publication available on Airbus World. The task sharing identifies 3 main rules with a cabin crew working team, each having a specific task to best prevent any escalation of the event. Okay, everybody? Okay, so fourth step is troubleshooting. Once the diversion is initiated, the troubleshooting may be carried on in an attempt to identify and fight the origin of the smoke. The identification will be undertaken by isolating different systems and assessing smoke dissipation. Okay, the different smoke sources listed for troubleshooting in the procedure appear in the most probable to least probable order. Okay, everybody, this is for troubleshooting. So everybody, this was our training sessions on the smoke, fumes, and avionics procedure. Okay, this single procedure replaces 3 different smoke procedures applicable to smoke sources that may come from avionics, from air conditioning, and the cabin equipment. The other 3 sources of smoke, cargo, crew rest compartment, and the lavatory, are easier to trace and have kept their own dedicated procedure. The smoke, fumes, avionics procedure had to integrate the need to act quickly, the difficulty to identify the smoke source, and the necessity to involve both cockpit and the cabin crew. Equally, the challenge was to design a single procedure that would cover the largest number of situations while keeping it as simple as possible. Again, everybody, the smoke, fumes, avionics procedure starts with an alert to anticipate a diversion and is then designed around 4 action blocks. Immediate action, ventilation, at any time, emergency electrical shedding, diversion decision making, 2 questions to ask, and the troubleshooting, you may assess the situation more to identify the source of the smoke and can kill it. Okay, everybody, the general action flow calls for the immediate action to be performed first, followed by the decision on whether or not to divert. The troubleshooting actions are performed last. As implied by the titles, the at any time item should be performed immediately whenever the smoke fumes becomes the greatest threat or whenever the situation becomes unmanageable. Okay, everybody? Okay. This was our training session for today. We finally finish the 3 parts or 3 sessions for avionics, smoke, fumes, and avionics smoke procedure. Remember, ventilations and electrical shedding. And thanks to Airbus Safety First magazine that produced this article. From Cairo, Egypt, your host was Haytham Aly, and I'm an aviation technical instructor. Please stay tuned for an upcoming sessions like this. And please don't use for flight or maintenance. This is a performance training session. Add value to my fellow pilots and my fellow aircraft maintenance people. So please don't use for maintenance and flight. And always consult your formal manual. Thank you, and I will meet you again very soon.